Hello and welcome to the paper making station. What we're going to do today is make some pulp paper. So there's a couple things you need before you get started. Number one, you need to make sure that this yellow bin is filled up with a little bit of water. Okay, you're also going to need to lay out a clean towel on the table. And then you're going to need to get this device called the decal. It goes like this. The decal needs to have the straps so they're coming up this way, and then eventually they'll attach right here. Okay? So the first thing we need to do to set up for paper making is we need to first take our screen. Okay? Screen is like this light blue, has lots of speckled dye on it. You're going to go ahead and lay that on top of your decal. Okay? Next, you're going to take your grid and you're going to lay that grid on top, followed by taking your Velcro straps and securely Velcroing your decal together. Once you have the decal nice and secure, it's time to move over to the blender, where we are going to start putting our paper in order to make the pulp paper. You can use any kind of paper that is already made for this. You can just use basic white paper. You can use newspaper. You can use pages from the dictionary. You can even use colored construction paper. But what you want to do is take your paper, rip it up into small sections, and go ahead and put it in the blender. You're going to want to use two 8.5 by 11 pieces for this activity. If you're using newspaper or colored paper, just kind of estimate and guess what about two pieces of 8.5 by 11 paper would look like. I've torn up two pieces of 8.5 by 11 paper into small sections and put it in the blender. You're going to want to go ahead and pour 2 cups of water into the blender as well. So if you were, for example, using 4 pieces of paper, you'd want to use 4 cups of water. That will make your paper the right consistency. Once you've done that, it is your choice whether or not you want to color your paper. To color your paper, you're going to want to use a color of tempera paint. Do not use acrylic paint like this. The acrylic paint has a different type of binder than the tempera paint. It's going to make your paper all hard and stiff. Right? So you're going to want to use tempera paint. You can use whatever colors you want. You can combine colors together. If you want to tint the paper, you're going to want to add just a little tiny bit of the tempera paint into the blender. Once the paint's in the blender, it's time to go ahead and turn the blender on. Any of these settings on the blender will really work fine. You just want to go ahead and push the button and let it blend for about a minute. All right. When you're done blending, you'll notice if you stuck your hand in here that the paper is all nice and blended up. I don't have any big, thick chunks or anything in there, and that's really what I'm looking for. At this point, I'm ready to go ahead and strain my paper. I'm going to take the decal that I have already put together, and I'm going to go ahead and immerse it into that water bath that I've already have set up. Go ahead and lightly press down with your hand so the bottom fills up with water, and then you're going to go ahead and take your pulp and you're going to pour it into the decal. Okay? All around, nice and even. Once you've poured your pulp in there, you're going to lightly kind of shake the paper around. You're trying to get even distribution of the pulp. Right. Once your pulp is all nice and distributed, you're going to go ahead and bring that over here to the towel. Okay. First thing you're going to want to do is unstrap your decal, and then it's going to easily come off, at which point you are left with your grid and your screen. You can go ahead and just remove the grid off. At this point, the screen is the only thing that is underneath your piece of pulp. Okay? The next thing you want to do is you're going to go ahead and grab one of these extra screens, and you're going to lay it on top of your paper. You're going to go ahead and take a sponge, and you're going to very gently just press getting all of the excess water out of our paper. Once you've used the sponge on the paper, the squeegee is also a great tool. So go ahead and press with the squeegee and it'll squeegee out a lot of more excess moisture out of your pulp. All right, I squeegeed everything out of my paper. You can notice that there's some like little pink areas here. Where those come from, that's just because the screen wasn't completely cleaned off. So it's not a big deal. We're gonna be using these pieces for collage anyway, and they're gonna be cut up. So if you notice like little speckles of other colors, honestly, sometimes it makes it a little bit even more interesting. Don't worry about that. Right? Next thing you're gonna wanna do is go ahead and lay this extra piece on top of your paper, and then you're gonna wanna flip it over. Okay, we're going to try to get that paper detached, and you can see here you're going to start to pull, hold it down, and eventually that paper will let go. When you are finished, you're going to go ahead and grab your piece of paper. You're going to see towels over by the heater. That's where we're going to store the paper for the day, so it dries pretty fast. Okay. Remember, your paper's really kind of nice and fragile, so be careful when you move it. Again, it's okay if it rips. Again, we're going to be using it for collage, so it's not a big deal. Okay. Your goal by the end of the 2 days at this station is for every person in your group to make at least one color of paper, and you can share those colors of paper with every member of your group, so you have a variety of colors that you can use. And once you've done and everybody's created some paper, it's time to move on to the second part of the station, which is working with photo transfers and the packing tape transfers.